Hey everybody, welcome back to another box office recap. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late, and we are officially out of the summer season. We're now in September, so now things are transitioning now into the fall season. But as far as film is concerned, anyway, the summer season has officially wrapped. So we're going to be looking in August, seeing what the last month of the summer looked like, and then what we're actually going to end up doing is that we're going to do a couple of videos regarding the box office, comparing last year's summer with this year's summer, just generally just talking about the summer in the next video or so, and a bunch of other things. So, and then looking ahead, of course, to the fall season this year, seeing where things will maybe fall in terms of releases, financially speaking. But we're here of August, so let's get into it. So like we always do, before we start, I like to give a little bit of a understanding of how I measure things. These numbers are based off of what I believe to be the standards of the company when it comes to these specific investments. So, in the case of a single-digit budget, I would refer to a 2 times ratio. Double digit is a 2.5 ratio, and then a triple digit is, I would say, 3 times its production budget. Um, Now, I do include bare minimums, just a simple times two ratio as to where I believe the film needs to quite literally make in terms of profit. But in terms of the higher margins that I believe the companies are expecting these films to do, these are the ratios that I would use in terms of a break even point, in terms of where I believe the company would want these films to hit. I do include any marketing expenses or any other related expenses that I find. And if that information is not available, I'm just purely judging by the production expenses alone. Or what information is out there. So hopefully that's all makes sense. And as we go along, hopefully that will start to make sense. But let's get into this because there's actually quite a few films that came out in August, and uh, definitely a little surprising in some areas and not surprising in others. But let's get into this. So first film we're going to talk about technically came out in July, and that film is Together. Now, this initially was going to come out on August 1st, and I think given uh, just by finances, more or less people were going to show up on a Friday for this. So technically speaking, financially more beneficial. This came out on August 1st, but officially it came out on July 30th. So we're going to talk about this first. And this was distributed by Neon, and this was the film that was starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie, both for a couple in real life. So it's kind of just this kind of weird meta thing that they're doing here. And how did this do? Not particularly great. Had grossed so far $28.1 million, had a production of at least 17 million, no marketing expenses to speak of. Bare minimum, the film would have had to do at least, in terms of just the investment alone of what we know, production wise, because the investment says it's 17 million. Bare minimum, the film would have done at least 34 million. Break even point, I would say, would be around 42.5 million for what I believe the company would have wanted this film to do. Um, and clearly, it's not going to get to those higher margins. There's a chance it might get bare minimum, but seeing as where I've been seeing the tracking for this for the past few weeks, it's just been barely getting any attendance, like maybe a million a week, but really not so much. So I think that this is probably going to end up going away pretty soon, especially because Conjuring is, I believe, this weekend. So I believe this was probably going to end up on streaming fairly soon. Um, so yeah, I think this has a lot to do with just marketing. I just don't think that there was a lot of marketing attached to this. And because of that, there was just not a whole lot of awareness. And also, um, it had competition that weekend as well, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think really a lack of marketing is what really kind of killed the momentum for this film because it has good reception to it, but generally there was just not a lot of awareness that just literally is out there. So, but in that weekend, in August 1st, it had some competition in the form of The Bad Guys 2, which we discussed on this channel. I did a little review for, which I thought, film-wise was fine. Nothing really interesting. Kind of neat in some areas, but not particularly wowed by it. This is distributed by Universal Pictures, and so far, this has actually done fairly well. Total gross so far is at $178 million. Budget-wise, we're sitting at $80 million. No marketing costs, as far as I can tell, or at least any publicly known marketing expenses. So we have an investment that sits at least $80 million. So bare minimum, the film would have needed to have done $160 million, and the break-even point, or at least what I believe the company standard for this would be, is at least $200 million. So it's well on its way to get to at least $200 million. So I think that this is a win for them. And, like I said, illustrated with the film together, this came out the same weekend as that. So, this is a more notable IP. It's, following up from what was an original piece is now developed into a franchise. So there's going to be more awareness to something like this than more of an original piece of content like Together was. But I think that if there was more marketing attached to that, I feel as though that it would have gotten to higher marks because of what it is. It's also horror, and horror plays very, very well, as you will see from this month, to larger demographics. But in the case of The Bad Guys 2, I also believe that in terms of what was out there, this was literally the only thing that I think that kids could have gone to have seen in August, because everything else was not necessarily billed for kids, but this is definitely that sort of film. So I think they just found a sweet spot, honestly, and I think that's just I think it's all been for the film's benefit, clearly so. So good on Universal. Good on them. They had a decent summer this year. We'll talk about their summer and all the company summers in a video coming up. So, but Bad Guys 2, not too bad. All right. I believe we're still on the same weekend though, because The Naked Gun also came out that weekend as well. So there was a lot of things stacking against a film like Together. This is another one of those. Of course, a sequel to the other films from that had Steve Martin, I believe, attached to it, or I forget who stars in those films, but yeah, Liam Neeson stars in it. Distributed by Paramount Pictures, and this is done fairly well. So far, total gross is sitting at $96 million. Had a budget of at least $42 million. No publicly known marketing expenses, so as an investment, it's around $42 million. Bare minimum, the film would have had to have done $84 million, and company standard, I believe, for this is sitting at around $105 million. And sitting at $96 million, well on its way to getting to that point. So, very, very rare instance where, a comedy has just has really resonated, I think that a lot of it has to do with reception. A lot of it has to do with marketing, because they marketed this a lot too. I remember between the three films, I think this one had the most marketing that weekend. So there's more eyes on something like this. But I was honestly surprised because this had a little bit of a drop for the past few weeks, and I was thinking that it wouldn't really pull larger numbers. Coming off of this weekend, Labor Day weekend, it built up a little bit, and it's getting closer and closer to where it needs to be for the company to feel a lot satisfied. And there's already talks of a sequel, so just all around, good thing for Paramount. They're one shining piece coming off of the summer so far. Yeah, and again, we'll talk more about that in the next video. But good on The Naked Gun, and proves again that comedies still have life in the theater. Just has to hit the right demos, and in this case, being a notable IP, I believe, also helped as well. So, All right, I believe we're stepping out of this weekend now, and we are then heading into the next weekend, which had two notable films. Those films being Freakier Friday. This was distributed by Disney, of course, the sequel to Freaky Friday. And how's this one done? Pretty darn well. This had a total gross of $132.6 million. Had a budget same as Naked Gun, $42 million. No publicly marketing expenses, so $42 million. So bare minimum, the film would have needed to do $84 million. Break even $105 million. So well surpassed that. So I think Disney's probably happy about this. We don't know what the marketing expenses looked like, but I think that they are probably very satisfied with where things are, and where things are probably going to end up. This might well end up at like 150 when it's all said and done, potentially. And I think that will be satisfying for the company. So good for Disney because they needed something outside of Lilo and Stitch to be happy about. So because Disney was you'll see Disney also on this list too because this is not their only film that came out in August, and yeah, so good on Disney, good on them for and low scale and again notable IP. So so companies might want to take some lessons from films like this because this is more evident to what audiences want. Notable IPs, but do it in lower scale or manage your productions properly. Or, like its competitor the weekend this came out, people love their horror. Now, Together is an instance where they didn't market it that well. They didn't do a whole lot of marketing. In the case of this film, Weapons, which is a original horror piece from the director of Barbarian, distributed through Warner Brothers. How this done? This has done very, very well. Gross so far $234.6 million. Had a very low budget of $38 million. No marketing, publicly known marketing expenses. So total investment, as we know it, $38 million. So bare minimum, the film would need to have done $76 million. Break even point, $95 million. Well surpassed that. And this is just more evident to what I've been saying in the past, where I just think that company's future, if there's when superheroes meet their end or settle into the background, horror is going to take center stage, and a film like Weapons, I think, is very, very illustrative of that because horror, as I said before, lives or dies based on the quality of its ideas. It's it's not a whole. Sometimes it does align with the IPs, but largely it is just to do with just content. What is it about? Is it intriguing? Is it well executed? That's what horror is way more in line with people viewing it more in a cinematic view, viewing it more in the line of how filmmaking is embedded into it. Whereas other things like Freakier Friday or anything else, not saying that those films are bad. I haven't seen those films, but it's to say that the market value of those films is the names. What are the IPs that we are coming to see? With this, it's all to do with what is the story behind this. And clearly, in the case of Weapons, it resonated very, very well. It's got a lot of great reception attached to it, a lot of solid reception attached to it. So, and of course, social media plays a huge part in all of this, right? So, but Warner Brothers is probably very, very happy with Weapons. I've been hearing, as we talked about in the news roundups, they have been wanting to work with this director again, and they're probably going to end up maybe signing him off, maybe on a first look deal or so. We'll see. But yeah, they're very, very happy with this. Probably more happy about this in regards to, compared to Superman. I think that they are very happy about this. Yeah. So yeah, they won in terms of just the month. Warner Brothers was just big success story. Weapons definitely being one of them. So, but Weapons being the one for this month. So, bless me. All right. let's get into the rest of these. This is where the month kind of started to take a nosedive. Because you saw where we were on a streak of like, oh, solid, 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 solid. Now you're going to see the other side of that. And again, illustrated my point where I think that people are not as interested with original content. Because all these things that we're about to talk about outside of one is original content. So to first start off with, we have. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Completely forgot about this film. Nobody 2. Of course, the sequel to Nobody, which came out uh, like 2 or 3 years ago, distributed through Universal Pictures. And well, I'm not the only one who forgot about this, because according to the box office, it seems like a lot of you forgot about it as well. Total gross so far of $35.6 million, budget of $25 million, so done for a very low scale. No publicly known marketing expenses attached to it. So as an investment, sits at $25 million. So bare minimum, the film would have to do at least $50 million, or company standard, I believe, is $62.5 million. I think this shares a very similar reasoning that Together has, which is that I think this has more of a lack of marketing attached to it, and hence why there wasn't a whole lot of awareness to this film. And from what I've also read, there wasn't a lot of strong reception attached to it. It was very mediocre at best. So there were things that were stacking against it. But yeah, I think that it also should have came out, because I believe the first one came out in like January or like March. It came out like very early in the year, where bless me, there wasn't a whole lot of competition, at the time. So maybe a poor release window as well. I don't know, but yeah, I think this is more to do with just a lack of marketing that kind of killed the momentum for this, if you ask me. So all right, I just took off my jacket. I was just getting real stuffy for some reason. Perhaps it got too warm real quick. But let us continue. I also went to the beach today, so I'm a little bit stuffy. So that might be another reason. But anyways, let's continue. So now we're going to be heading into all the original content. I believe so now. So first of which that we're going to be discussing is Americana. This came out the same weekend as Nobody 2. Sydney Sweeney starring in it. Paul Walter Hauser as well. Distributed through Lionsgate, and yeah. Total gross $500,000, $9 million. No marketing attached to it, at least any publicly. Bless me. Any notable marketing expenses. Let me just do this real quick. Yeah. There we go. Just getting a little stuff in here. Investment of $9 million, and as far as bare minimum is concerned, $18 million. Break even point $22.5 million. So yeah, this is not happening. This is a bomb. This is a bomb right here. Some people will tell you that it's because of the controversy that was surrounding the actress, and I seriously don't believe that's the case. I think that this is purely to do with just one, a lack of marketing, and that might be attributed to the controversy. I don't know. Two, nobody knows what Americana is, right? And also, to be frank, nobody knows who Sydney Sweeney really is outside of a select few. Like, people my age might know who she is just because she is someone around our age, right? Um, and I guess if you consume film in a certain language and if you care about the stuff in a certain way, you may or may not know someone like Sydney Sweeney. The average person in this world does not know who Sydney Sweeney is. They just don't. She's not a household name. A she's just who she is right now. She's just a part of this group of up and coming actors, but they're not really going to become anything more than just a moment, at least to me anyway. So, so I think that there were, you know, I think it was more to do with just a sheer lack of care, and less so to do with any other surrounding elements attached to it. Maybe a little small bit of that controversy got swept in here, but I don't think that, whether it was here or not, I don't think it was going to make or break this film, if you ask me. So, especially coming out in the same weekend as a sequel to a film is concerned, I don't think that something like this was going to really stand up against it. So, all right, next film that we're going to talk about, Honey Don't. This is a noir slash comedy. Has again another up and coming type of actress, Margaret Qualley, or at least she's been around for a little bit, but again, kind of on the younger side type of deal. Chris Evans, Charlie Day, Abira Plaza. This was distributed by Universal Pictures, and yeah, yeah. Has a total gross of 5 million, budget 20 million. So no marketing attached, publicly no marketing expenses here. Bare minimum, the film needed to do 40 million, and break even. The company standard, I think, for this would be 50 million. Clearly not happening. Clearly not happening. Again, I think this is a case of just a lack of marketing and a lack of care. No real notable actors attached to this. Chris Evans maybe being the highlight, being the most notable face, but he is not the star of it either. So um, it doesn't help also that didn't get the best reception when it came out. So yeah, I just think people just flat out just didn't care. I just don't think they cared to see this. So, and continuing in that trend, we have Eden. This, I believe, was in looking for distribution for about like a year's time. So I think this premiered at like a festival or so, like well over a year or two ago. So Vertical picked it up, came out on the 22nd, and again, here we are again. This had a total gross of $2.15 million. Budget wise, is sitting at least $50 million, so a little more of a pricey gamble this time. No more publicly no marketing expenses, so we're sitting at 50 million. So bare minimum, the film would have to have done at least 100 million. Break even, it would need to do at least 125. For this product, I feel like it might be just the company will be okay up 100 million, but it ain't getting there. It's not going to get there at all. This is another bomb. Um, yeah, this was also the mystery movie, so I'm pretty sure that a part of that total gross so far, at least a good, we'll say a million, was probably due to the mystery movie screening. Um, and again, another film with Sydney Sweeney in it, just not a real selling point. Um, so yeah, again, I think that people just did not care, and this didn't also have strong reception to it either. So I think the same issues that plagued Honey Don't also plagued this film, if you ask me. So, lack of marketing and, frankly, just a lack of care. Moving down that list, we have Caught Stealing. This just came out this past weekend, August 29th, distributed through Sony Pictures. And yeah, this did not start off well. Total gross was hitting at least $13.2 million. Has a budget of 40 million. No publicly known marketing expenses, as far as I can tell. So if we're sitting at 40 million, bare minimum, the film will need to do at least 80 million. Break even point at 100 million. Again, clearly not going to be the case. I think in this case, again, lack of notable stars. I mean, there's some faces that you can probably pick up, but no one real notable. It had decent reception attached to it, as far as I can tell. It doesn't have like strong reviews, um, and it's just not hitting on. It doesn't have something, at least as far as I can tell anyway. It just has a very standard look to it. There's nothing flashy or exciting or thrilling about it. At least it tries to build up some sort of thrills and stuff like that, but it just, as far as I'm concerned anyway, it just doesn't look all that appealing. It just looks very stale. But for a lot of people, they just didn't care. Again, it's just a case of, again, just not caring, purely looking at the eye of what they're seeing on, like, this poster or whatever. It's just not hidden. It's just not. So, and again, that streak continues because the same weekend we had The Roses. Now this is a remake, actually, to I believe a film from the '90s, starring Danny DeVito, as far as I read. Distributed through Searchlight, but ultimately it's through Disney. And interesting thing about this, no publicly known production expenses attached to this. The only people who are saying anything about it is the BBC. Variety hasn't said anything. Hollywood Reporter hasn't said anything. Deadline hasn't said anything. Nobody's saying about how much this thing cost. And I'm wondering if that's just because Disney is just not happy with the results at all. Yeah, I don't blame them, because 15.6 million potentially against a production cost of 30 million, according to the BBC, which is why I left a question mark there. It's not great. It's not great at all, actually, because film-wise, it would need to do at least 60 million bare minimum, or at least by the company standard, 75 million, and that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. This has fair reception to it. I actually will be checking this out as well. So I will see for myself how the film actually is. Because I'm interested in seeing it. It actually looks like a lot of fun. Um, but but yeah, again, I just think people just didn't really care because it didn't have any real notability to it outside of just whether or not you think the cast seems interesting or not. And I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is, I would say, a fairly notable name, but I don't think that he holds a massive star power. And clearly, outside of the MCU, I don't think that that's really been the case for him, outside of like starring in like notable IPs like The Grinch and stuff like that. So again, another case of I just think people don't care, and another case of I don't think that this was marketed all that heavily, because I don't remember a whole lot of marketing for this. So, yeah, another flop. Yet another flop. And the exception to all this is a comic book film. A comic book film. And that is The Toxic Avenger. Uh, for anyone who has followed the development of this film, or at least just the distribution of this film, it has been well over, I think, like 2 or 3 years, just circling around, looking for a distributor. Cineverse got a hold of it, and then I think there were other issues that plagued it for a while, but finally got out there in a not so publicly known debut, because, yeah, again, we don't know any production. You know what's hilarious? None of the major outlets are even bringing this up when it comes to the box office takes. Not a single one has brought up the Toxic Avenger at all. Like, none. As if they themselves have forgotten that this film even came out. And I don't blame them, because 2.2 million is not really all that great of a number, especially if you were to take. I'm just going by guessing here. There's no real anything to back this up. I'm going by the assumption that this was potentially 10 to 15 million, given the practicality that this is dealing with. So with that, the film would need to do bare minimum, at least, because there's no marketing expenses that, as far as I can tell, there are actually any. I heard that the marketing is, or some of the financial stuff to this is actually going towards medical debts or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was like some sort of cause that pushing some finances towards in relation to the films. It's like kind of doing like a nice thing, but always a good thing to do. But as far as I can tell, anyway, I think that this film would need to do bare minimum 20 to 30 million break evens company wise. I think that they'd be wanting this to hit more like 25, 37.5. I don't think that that's going to happen at all. Again, sheer lack of marketing on this end. I did not hear anything about this film leading into the weekend. And yeah, so I don't think that I don't think that there was a lot of strong reception to it. There were some reviews here and there, but I just think purely on this end, it was just no one knew about it. No one knew about it. And I honestly think if people knew about it, I just don't think, based on what they're literally seeing, that poster or something like that, I just don't think that it's going to be as eye catching as much as it's going to be looked at as, okay, that you know, looks like some kind of something you'd find at Blockbuster. Something that you rent for like a dollar, or the dollar bin at Walmart or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, so purely a lack of marketing or no marketing really to speak of, I think is really what kind of killed this thing. So if you're accounting, that was 12 films, 12 notable films that came out this month, and of those 12 films, only 4 of them really did well, and very notably so. All, with the exception of Nobody 2, all of which that have failed are original pieces of content. And all the things that have done well outside of Weapons, which we've talked about, is the criteria of horror. In the case of Together, it was all to do with a lack of marketing, but I believe that Together had more stronger marketing attached to it. I think that it would do a little bit more than how it's doing right now. Outside of that, all of these films that have done successful. They're all notable IPs. We have sequels. We have remakes and such, legacy sequels, both of which for Freaky Friday and The Naked Gun. And then we have a ton of original content out there that nobody's wishing to see. So you see where the money is at. People will complain. They will talk about, oh my God, I want more original films. We want more original content. That's clearly not true. This month shows you that people are not interested in that. Well, people say, well, what about Weapons? Again, it's all about genre, in that point. It's all about what horror does. It's the criteria of horror. It's not the same as other types of genres or, certain types of IPs. With horror, it's all to do with the merit of the ideas. In the case of Weapons, it really, really worked for a lot of people. And again, I think Together with more marketing would have helped. But it just goes to show you, dude, that there is a specific consumption taking place. And some audiences are just not aware to it, and some studios are just honestly not aware to it right now. And they need to start waking up soon, because this year so far has not been great. It has not been great. We are sitting at now 21 films overall that have been successful compared to the 54 that have not done well. This year has not been great. This year has not been great. And this summer, we will get into numbers in the next video, but it's not been a great year. It's not been a great year for film. And as far as the summer is concerned, at least the one thing I can say is that we did not end up hitting any higher margins. We barely met at last year's numbers in terms of financial numbers. Didn't end up hitting the $4 billion mark, which is, I believe, what people were kind of hoping for as a saving grace for the summer. Didn't end up happening. So it was a very, very mid-range type of year, and we'll get into more discussions in the next video or so when we get back to discussing box office. But as far as August is concerned, it was indeed another down month, but I think a very illustrative month. if you ask me, when you consider the things that have been successful and the things that, frankly, just failed poorly in a lot of ways with a lot of these films I listed. So, but those are my thoughts on this past month's box office. You guys, let me know your thoughts on this past month's box office. What you guys think was successful or not, and your thoughts for September, because we have, of course, The Conjuring coming out this month, and some other things here and there, but most notably The Conjuring. Let me know your thoughts. What you guys feel The Conjuring is going to do this weekend, and yeah. So let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.